The hype about fasting is real. It can completely change your health if you do it the right way. And if you're over 50, you need to fast a little bit differently. I've seen too many people jump into aggressive fasting schedules only to end up exhausted, losing muscle, or sending their hormones into chaos. Your body responds to fasting differently as you get older. Muscle mass drops faster, your hormones are more sensitive to stress, and the margin for error gets a lot smaller. This doesn't mean fasting is off the table. It just means the rules have changed. And when you know how to work with your body, fasting over 50 can help you to burn fat, keep your energy stable, and protect your muscle for years to come. So in today's video, I'll show you the exact fasting schedule that works best, how to protect your hormones, when to be more aggressive, and how to extend fast safely without ending up wiped out. I'm Kait, a nutritionist who has helped hundreds of clients, many of those over 50, to reverse insulin resistance, lose stubborn weight, and use fasting as a tool to feel better than you have in years, all while protecting your muscle and hormonal health. Okay, so let's talk about why fasting over 50 isn't the same as if you're fasting in your 20s, 30s, even in your 40s. As we get older, a few big changes happen in our bodies that affect how we respond to fasting. First, our muscle mass naturally starts to decline, but it happens even faster after 50. And muscle isn't just about strength. It's actually your biggest metabolic engine. The more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest, the better your blood sugar control is, and the stronger you are as you age. And if you're not careful, aggressive fasting or not fasting properly can accelerate that muscle loss. Now, this isn't to say that fasting itself causes muscle loss, because that isn't the case. Your body stores fat as energy, so it's not going to use your muscle for energy if there's fat there. It's just about finding the right balance between feeding and fasting and eating the right foods during your feeding window. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're going to get into all of that in today's video. I just wanted to make sure I haven't scared you away. Fasting does not cause muscle loss. And there's also a hormonal side here. For women, menopause and the years around it brings shifts in estrogen and progesterone, which can make the body more sensitive to stressors. Fasting, especially if done too aggressively or paired with undereating, can spike cortisol, your main stress hormone, which can lead to disrupted sleep, stubborn belly fat, or even feeling fatigued all the time. And men aren't off the hook either. Testosterone levels drop with age. And while fasting can help to improve metabolic health, going too hard can be counterproductive. And here's one misconception that a lot of people have. Fasting is not the same as chronic calorie restriction. Fasting works because it gives your body a break during your fasting window, but you're still fueling properly during your feeding window. Chronic undereating, on the other hand, sends your body into conservation mode, slowing your metabolism, increasing cravings, and making it harder to lose weight in the long run. Over 50, the wrong approach to fasting can chip away at your energy levels and your muscle, while the right approach can help you to burn fat, keep hormones balanced, and feel stronger than you have in years. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They confuse calorie restriction with fasting, when it really isn't about eating less overall. It's about cycling between being fasted and fed. It's chronic calorie restriction that backfires. Yes, you can get some short-term weight loss results. You're probably gonna feel pretty miserable in the meantime, but you may get some initial results, but long-term, it's gonna slow down your metabolism and make maintaining that weight loss and losing more weight even more difficult. Fasting is a set period of not eating, followed by a period where you eat enough to fuel your body properly. It's an intentional rhythm, a break from eating, and then you refuel. Calorie restriction is constant undereating, which your body catches on to and sees it as a long-term shortage. The result is your metabolism slows down, you burn fewer calories, and you can lose muscle mass, which we've already talked about is critical to preserve as you age. With proper fasting, you still hit your protein and energy needs, you just compress them into a smaller window. So what's the best fasting schedule for people over 50? This depends on your goals, your current health, and how much fat you have to lose. For women, I found that skipping dinner instead of skipping breakfast can sometimes be easier on hormones. Breakfast can help to keep your cortisol levels balanced and can improve energy throughout the day. Now, I know that skipping breakfast does work well for a lot of people, and if it is working for you, then by all means stick to it. But if you're finding it difficult to not have anything in the morning and to wait a few hours to have your first meal, then try skipping dinner instead. Push your feeding window a little bit earlier in the day. Now, if you have a lot of weight to lose, this is when you can be more aggressive with your fasting schedule. Maybe 18-6 or even some longer fasts sprinkled in. If you don't have as much weight to lose, you'll want to do something more modest and sustainable, like 12 to 16 hours fasting, and then 2 to 3 meals in your eating window. I find that this is the sweet spot for most people over 50, consistently sticking to a 12 to 16 hour fast each day. Ultimately, what we want to do here is build habits, because if what you're doing isn't sustainable, you're not going to be able to stick to it, and your results aren't going to be sustainable. Intermittent fasting shouldn't feel like a struggle. You shouldn't be pushing through every single day. It should fit into your lifestyle. So if what you're currently doing isn't working, if it's feeling really difficult, if it's leading to binges on the weekend or in the evenings, try mixing things up. There's no right or wrong way to do things, but what matters here is consistency. Even a 12-hour fasting window every day can be extremely effective without stressing your body out. Okay, so we've been talking about intermittent fasting, but what about if you want to do an extended fast? Let's say 72 hours. When done right, longer fasts can have massive benefits: deep autophagy, lower inflammation, a big boost in insulin sensitivity, and even a reset effect for your appetite. But here's the thing. These only need to be done periodically, not all the time, in order to reap the benefits. Doing an extended fast isn't about fat loss. I mean, you might lose a little bit of fat during that time, but most of the weight you lose is probably water weight. But there are metabolic benefits to doing an extended fast. Like I said, the increase in autophagy, the reset on your hunger hormones. These can help you to lose weight long term. But a 72-hour fast, you only really need to do maybe once a month, once a quarter, not that often. Again, if you do have a lot of weight to lose, then you can be more aggressive here. But you really need to weigh the pros and the cons. A big mistake that I see for a lot of people who do an extended fast is they finish it with a massive binge. That can be hard on digestion and blood sugar, and it can take away from a lot of the benefits of the fast. So instead, break your fast gently. Start with bone broth and then have a small protein-rich meal an hour later. Then work back to normal eating over the next 24 hours. Hydration is huge for intermittent fasting, but even more so if you're doing an extended fast. When you're fasting, you're not getting electrolytes from food, and plain water alone can actually dehydrate you more by diluting your sodium and other minerals. And this is why I use Sodi's everyday hydration salts when I'm daily intermittent fasting and when I do an extended fast. They have no sugar, no artificial sweeteners, and they keep my electrolytes balanced so I feel good throughout the whole fast. You can get them worldwide by heading to healthcoachkait.com/Sodi electrolytes. I'll put that link in the description box down below, and make sure to use code HCK15 at checkout because that'll save you 15% off your first order. Okay, but let's talk a little bit about what you should be eating during your feeding window in order to get the maximum benefits from your fast. As we've already spoke about, once you're over 50, muscle loss happens faster, and muscle is one of the best protectors against aging, poor metabolism, and weakness. This means that protein is a non-negotiable, and most people are not getting anywhere near enough. Plus, as we age, our bodies don't metabolize protein as efficiently, so we need more in order to absorb and use the same amount. I recommend aiming for a bare minimum of 30 grams of protein, high-quality animal protein, at every meal during your feeding window. So if you're doing a 12 to 16 hour fast every day, you're probably having 2 to 3 meals. The base of these meals should be protein. Like I said, 30 grams minimum, but up to 50 grams. This gives your body the amino acids it needs to maintain and build muscle, especially if you're doing strength training. Animal proteins like eggs, chicken, beef, fish, and Greek yogurt are great options. They're more bioavailable than plant proteins and easier to digest for most people. Now, if you really want to preserve your muscle mass though, yes, consuming enough protein and not under eating is going to be extremely important. But adding in a little bit of strength training can make such a difference. And I'm not talking anything crazy here. 2 to 3 sessions per week, 30 minutes, that's all you need. Focus on movements that work multiple muscle groups: squats, push-ups, rows, deadlifts, overhead press. You don't need to lift super heavy. Just get your muscles working. Challenge your muscles, and this is going to stimulate muscle growth and help you to better hold on to the muscle you have. Okay, so we've covered a lot in today's video. Let's quickly recap the key points. You want to make sure you're choosing a fasting window that fits your goals and is sustainable. Eat enough during your eating window, and don't turn fasting into accidental calorie restriction. Prioritize protein to protect your muscles, at least 30 grams per meal. Strength train at least 2 to 3 times per week, and stay hydrated and replenish electrolytes, especially on longer fasts. That's how you're going to get the fat burning, energy boosting, and anti-aging benefits of fasting without the downsides of hormone crashes or muscle loss. Because I get asked a lot about whether or not fasting is good for women, and specifically whether it's good for women over 50, because there is a lot of mixed information out there. But in summary, a lot of the downsides of fasting, or thought to be downsides of fasting, are actually from calorie restriction. But fasting takes the blame. Now, I want to hear from you guys. Do you currently fast? What does your fast look like? Let me know in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure to check out Sodi's everyday hydration salts, especially if you're thinking about doing a 72-hour fast. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.